You're sabotaging your own success, undermining progress, and destroying opportunities through unconscious self-defeating patterns while watching others who are no more talented or deserving achieve goals that elude you. Recognizing that self-sabotage is not character flaw or lack of willpower, but predictable psychological patterns operating below conscious awareness driven by hidden fears, limiting beliefs, and unresolved conflicts. Knowing that self-sabotaging behaviors include procrastination, self-doubt, negative self-talk, perfectionism, fear of success, and commitment avoidance that systematically prevent achievement despite genuine desire and effort. Understanding that these patterns persist because they serve hidden psychological functions, like protecting from disappointment, maintaining familiar identity, or avoiding responsibility that comes with success, and losing years or decades to repeating destructive cycles, watching dreams slip away as self-sabotage ensures failure becomes self-fulfilling prophecy, making pattern recognition and elimination absolutely essential for breaking free from invisible prison of self-imposed limitations and finally achieving capabilities you possess. This self-sabotage trap is systematically preventing achievement by creating unconscious resistance to own goals, ensuring effort gets undermined by hidden opposition, causing you to quit, abandon, or destroy progress just when success becomes possible, protecting from imagined threats, making you feel powerless and out of control when actually you are defeating yourself through predictable patterns, damaging self-esteem and confidence through repeated failures that appear to confirm negative beliefs, and ensuring decades pass in frustration watching potential remain unrealized, because invisible self-sabotage prevents translating capability into achievement, making pattern elimination critical priority. Stopping self-sabotage is not about more willpower or motivation, but about identifying and dismantling unconscious patterns driving self-defeat. Not about positive thinking alone, but about resolving underlying psychological conflicts, creating resistance, and not mysterious curse but understandable mechanisms. This audiobook teaches how to stop sabotaging yourself through 10 comprehensive frameworks, including recognizing self-sabotaging patterns and triggers, understanding root causes of self-sabotage, dismantling limiting beliefs fueling failure, healing fear of success and self-worth issues, developing self-compassion, replacing self-criticism, building sustainable motivation and commitment, creating accountability and support systems, reframing failure as learning and growth, developing emotional regulation, managing resistance, and integrating all elements into comprehensive self-support system, eliminating sabotage and enabling achievement. Stop sabotaging yourself and finally achieve what you want. Stop self-defeat and start self-support. Master 10 frameworks systematically, heal deliberately, and achieve your goals through unwavering commitment starting now. Chapter 1. Recognize self-sabotaging patterns and triggers. Chapter 1 recognizes self-sabotaging patterns and triggers, identifying specific behaviors and situations that systematically undermine success and prevent achievement. The recognition requirement shows that awareness of self-sabotaging patterns is absolute prerequisite for change, because unconscious automatic behaviors continue indefinitely without recognition, making transformation impossible until you can observe and name what you are doing. That self-sabotage operates primarily below conscious awareness through habitual patterns you enact without deliberate choice or recognition. The trigger identification reveals specific situations, circumstances, or emotional states that activate sabotaging behaviors, enabling you to anticipate and intervene before engaging destructive patterns. That most self-saboteurs remain trapped in repeating cycles because they never develop conscious awareness of specific mechanisms through which they defeat themselves. And understanding that systematically recognizing self-sabotaging patterns through behavior identification, trigger mapping, and consequence analysis is essential first framework for stopping self-defeat. Because you cannot change what you do not see, making pattern recognition critical foundation for breaking free from unconscious cycles that have controlled your outcomes. Recognize self-sabotaging patterns and triggers. Identify behaviors, map causes. Develop awareness or sabotage unconsciously. The pattern identification maps specific self-sabotaging behaviors you habitually engage in that undermine goals and prevent success. Common sabotage patterns include procrastination, putting off important tasks until deadline, pressure creates poor results or missed opportunities, self-doubt and negative self-talk, undermining confidence through internal criticism, and catastrophizing,
Perfectionism, setting impossibly high standards that prevent starting or completing projects.
Commitment phobia, avoiding full dedication to goals, maintaining escape routes that prevent real effort, starting strong, then quitting just when success
becomes possible, protecting from potential failure or exposure. Self-medicating through substances, excessive entertainment, or other numbing behaviors, avoiding discomfort of growth. Creating chaos or crisis that derails progress, providing excuse for not achieving. Picking fights or sabotaging relationships when intimacy or success threatens, and missing obvious opportunities through inattention or rationalization. Identify your specific patterns through reviewing recent situations where you failed to achieve desired outcome and honestly examining your behavior. Asking trusted others to identify patterns they observe in your self-defeating actions. Keeping journal, tracking situations where you undermine yourself, and recognizing themes or consistency across multiple failures, revealing systematic patterns, not random misfortune.
The trigger awareness recognizes specific situations, emotions, or circumstances that reliably activate self-sabotaging behaviors. Triggers are predictable conditions that precede sabotage, enabling anticipation and intervention.
Common triggers include approaching success or goal achievement, activating fear and resistance, receiving positive feedback or recognition, creating discomfort with visibility, facing deadlines or commitments that require follow-through, experiencing stress or emotional difficulty, seeking relief through sabotage, encountering criticism or setback, activating shame and withdrawal,
Reaching milestones that require new level of capability or responsibility, and situations reminding you of past
failures or traumas. Map triggers through reviewing when sabotage occurs, identifying what happened immediately before, recognizing emotional states that precede self-defeating behavior, noting situations or people consistently associated with sabotage, and understanding that triggers often involve fear of failure, success, judgment, or change.
Trigger awareness enables proactive intervention before sabotage activates. The consequence analysis examines real costs and impact of self-sabotage, creating motivation for change. Consequences include lost opportunities and achievements that sabotage prevented, damaged relationships destroyed by self-defeating patterns, financial costs from underachievement or self-destructive choices, eroded self-esteem and confidence from repeated failures, wasted time and energy on unproductive cycles, and gap between potential and actual achievement, creating frustration. Calculate consequences through listing specific opportunities lost to sabotage, assessing financial impact of underachievement, examining relationship damage from patterns, and projecting future costs if sabotage continues.
Honest consequence assessment creates urgency for change by making invisible costs visible and undeniable. The pattern categorization groups sabotage behaviors into types, enabling systematic intervention. Categories might include avoidance patterns like procrastination or commitment phobia, self-attack patterns like harsh criticism or self-doubt, relationship sabotage through picking fights or withdrawal, or success sabotage through quitting when achievement nears. Categorization reveals whether sabotage is broad across life areas or specific to certain domains, guiding intervention focus.
The frequency tracking monitors how often sabotage patterns occur, establishing baseline and measuring progress. Track through daily journaling, noting instances of self-sabotage, counting specific behaviors like procrastination episodes or negative self-talk, and rating intensity or impact of sabotage. Tracking creates accountability and reveals whether patterns are improving or worsening over time. The early warning signs identify subtle indicators that sabotage is beginning before full pattern activates.
Early signs might include particular thoughts that precede sabotage, physical sensations associated with trigger activation, or behavioral changes that predict larger self-defeat. Recognizing early signs enables intervention at earliest stage, preventing full sabotage sequence.
The honesty requirement demands ruthless self-assessment without minimization, rationalization, or denial.
Self-saboteurs typically minimize or excuse patterns, avoiding full recognition.
Combat denial through seeking objective feedback from others, reviewing evidence without defensive filtering, and accepting that admitting patterns is first step toward change, not character assassination. The implementation requires identifying specific self-sabotaging behavior patterns you engage in, mapping triggers that reliably activate those patterns, analyzing real consequences and costs of continued sabotage, categorizing patterns into types, tracking frequency, establishing baseline, recognizing early warning signs, maintaining honest assessment without denial, and treating pattern recognition as essential foundation, creating awareness necessary for change where unconscious automatic. Sabotage continued indefinitely, making recognition critical first framework for stopping self-defeat through seeing clearly what you have been doing to yourself. Recognize self-sabotaging patterns and triggers. Identify behaviors map causes. Develop awareness or sabotage unconsciously. You understand now that awareness is prerequisite for change, that self-sabotage operates unconsciously through predictable patterns, that trigger identification enables intervention, that consequence analysis creates motivation, and that Chapter 1 provides recognition framework making conscious awareness possible where unconsciousness perpetuated destructive cycles. Chapter 2. Understand root causes of self-sabotage. Chapter 2 understands root causes of self-sabotage, exploring psychological mechanisms and hidden motivations driving self-defeating patterns. The causation understanding shows that treating symptoms without addressing underlying causes creates temporary improvements that collapse when root issues remain active, that multiple interacting causes typically drive self-sabotage, requiring comprehensive understanding, not single simple explanation. That insight into why you sabotage yourself enables targeted intervention, addressing actual sources of resistance, not just surface behaviors. That self-sabotage, despite appearing irrational, always serves hidden psychological functions like protecting from feared outcomes or maintaining familiar identity, making behavior logical from unconscious perspective. And understanding that systematically understanding root causes through fear identification, belief analysis, and conflict recognition is essential second framework for stopping self-sabotage, because knowing why patterns exist enables dismantling mechanisms driving them, making causal exploration critical for achieving lasting change, not just temporary suppression of symptoms. Understand root causes of self-sabotage. Explore psychological mechanisms deeply. Identify roots or treat symptoms. The fear identification uncovers hidden anxieties and terrors that drive protective self-sabotage. Self-sabotage often functions as misguided protection from outcomes you unconsciously fear even while consciously desiring them. Common underlying fears include fear of failure, where sabotage prevents trying, fully allowing you to maintain belief that you could succeed if you really tried, protecting ego from definitive proof of inadequacy. Fear of success, where achievement threatens comfortable familiar identity, creates unwanted visibility and attention, or brings responsibilities and expectations you doubt you can maintain. Fear of judgment or criticism, where success makes you visible target for evaluation, triggering shame anxiety. Fear of change and unknown, where achievement requires leaving familiar life and identity for uncertain new territory. Fear of outshining others and losing relationships through success that separates you from peer group. Fear of discovering limitations, where full effort might reveal you lack capability you hoped you possessed. And fear of responsibility and pressure that success brings. Identify underlying fears through asking, what am I afraid might happen if I actually achieve this goal? What would success cost me or require me to give up? What makes me uncomfortable about the idea of achieving what I say I want? And what terrible outcome might occur if I stopped sabotaging and tried my absolute best? Exploring fears reveals that sabotage is not mysterious curse but logical protection from outcomes unconscious mind perceives as threatening even when conscious mind desires them. The belief analysis examines limiting core beliefs about self-worth and possibility that create sabotage. Beliefs that fuel self-sabotage include I am not good enough or capable enough to succeed, so why bother trying? I do not deserve success, happiness, or good outcomes. Success is for other people, not people like me. If I succeed, people will discover I am fraud and reject me. Trying hard and failing would be worse than not trying at all. Change is dangerous and familiar suffering is safer than unknown success. I will lose important relationships if I succeed and differentiate from my background. Achievement requires sacrificing values or becoming person I do not want to be. And world is fundamentally hostile or rigged against me, making effort pointless. Identify limiting beliefs through examining thoughts that arise when considering pursuing goals, noticing beliefs you hold about your capabilities and deservingness. Exploring messages you internalized from family culture or past experiences, and recognizing how beliefs shape behavior, creating self-fulfilling prophecies where belief I cannot succeed ensures you sabotage efforts that might prove belief wrong. Belief exploration reveals that sabotage maintains consistency with core identity and worldview even when those beliefs are inaccurate and limiting. The conflict recognition identifies internal contradictions where different parts of you want incompatible outcomes, creating paralysis and sabotage.
Internal conflicts include wanting success, but also wanting comfort and ease that precludes effort required, desiring achievement, but fearing visibility and responsibility it brings, wanting to change, but also wanting to maintain familiar identity and relationships, seeking growth but resisting discomfort growth requires,
And pursuing goals that conflict with values or self-concept.
Conflicts create impossible binds where achieving one desired outcome prevents achieving another, causing you to sabotage either goal or oscillate between them, never fully committing to either. Recognize conflicts through noticing contradictory desires or impulses, identifying situations where you feel pulled in opposite directions, and examining whether stated goals actually align with deeper values and identity. Conflict awareness reveals that sabotage often represents attempt to honor both sides of internal contradiction, simultaneously preventing choice that would require sacrifice.
The childhood origins exploration examines how early experiences created patterns, beliefs, and coping mechanisms that continue manifesting as adult sabotage. Origins might include family dynamics where success was punished or created conflict, attachment wounds creating fear of intimacy or abandonment, trauma that created beliefs about safety and worth, or modeling where parents demonstrated self-sabotage patterns you internalized. Understanding origins does not excuse sabotage, but provides context enabling compassion and targeted healing. The secondary gains analysis identifies hidden benefits sabotage provides, like sympathy from others, excuse for not risking real effort, maintenance of victim identity, or protection from feared outcomes. Recognizing secondary gains reveals why patterns persist despite obvious costs, because benefits, although unhealthy, serve real psychological needs. The shame and guilt examination explores how toxic shame fuels sabotage through creating belief you do not deserve success or are fundamentally flawed.
Shame-based sabotage ensures outcomes match internal sense of unworthiness, maintaining painful but familiar identity.
The perfectionism roots understanding examines how impossibly high standards function as self-sabotage through preventing completion or starting. Perfectionism protects ego by ensuring you never test real capabilities against realistic standards, maintaining possibility that you could be perfect if circumstances allowed. The implementation requires identifying specific fears driving protective sabotage, analyzing limiting core beliefs about self and possibility, recognizing internal conflicts creating impossible binds, exploring childhood origins of patterns, examining secondary gains sabotage provides, addressing toxic shame and guilt, understanding perfectionism as self-protection, and treating root cause exploration as enabling lasting change through addressing actual sources, not just suppressing symptoms. Where surface interventions remain temporary, making causal understanding essential. Second framework for eliminating self-sabotage at source. Understand root causes of self-sabotage. Explore psychological mechanisms deeply. Identify roots or treat symptoms. You understand now that symptoms treat poorly without addressing causes, that fears drive protective sabotage, that limiting beliefs fuel self-defeat, that internal conflicts create binds, and that Chapter 2 provides causation framework, making deep understanding possible where surface focus remained ineffective. Chapter 3. Dismantle limiting beliefs fueling failure. Chapter 3 dismantles limiting beliefs fueling failure by systematically challenging and replacing self-defeating thoughts with accurate, empowering alternatives. The belief power shows that core beliefs about yourself, your capabilities, and what is possible shape behavior and outcomes, because you unconsciously act in ways consistent with beliefs, creating self-fulfilling prophecies. That limiting beliefs like I am not capable enough or I do not deserve success directly fuels sabotage by making failure feel inevitable and success feel impossible or dangerous. That beliefs operate largely unconsciously, shaping perceptions, interpretations, and choices without you recognizing their influence. That changing limiting beliefs to empowering alternatives enables behavior change because new beliefs support rather than undermine efforts toward goals. And understanding that systematically dismantling limiting beliefs through identification, evidence challenging, and cognitive reframing is essential. Third framework for stopping self-sabotage, because beliefs are invisible architecture supporting or sabotaging all efforts, making belief transformation critical for removing mental obstacles that ensure failure regardless of effort or capability. Dismantle limiting beliefs fueling failure. Challenge, replace, empower. transform beliefs, or confirm limitations.
The belief identification recognizes specific limiting thoughts and core beliefs that fuel self-sabotage and undermine success.
Common limiting beliefs include capability beliefs like I am not smart, talented, or capable enough to succeed. I always fail at important things, or I am fundamentally flawed or broken. Deservingness beliefs like I do not deserve success, happiness, or good things, or success is for other people, not people like me. Possibility beliefs like my goals are unrealistic or impossible. Change is too hard or impossible for me, or world is against me, making success impossible. Identity beliefs like I am.
Lazy person, I am failure, or successful person is not who I am. And prediction beliefs like if I try I will fail, success would be temporary before inevitable failure, or nothing good ever lasts for me. Identify limiting beliefs through noticing automatic thoughts that arise when considering goals or facing challenges. Examining beliefs underlying emotional reactions like shame, anxiety, or hopelessness. Recognizing themes in how you explain failures or interpret situations. Listening for should statements and absolute words like always, never, or can't, indicating rigid beliefs.
And asking what would I have to believe about myself for this sabotage pattern to make sense.
Belief identification makes invisible limiting thoughts conscious and examinable. The evidence challenging questions validity of limiting beliefs by examining actual evidence for and against them. Most limiting beliefs are overgeneralizations, distortions, or outdated conclusions, not accurate assessments of current reality. Challenge beliefs through asking what concrete evidence supports this belief versus what evidence contradicts it. Are there exceptions or times when opposite of this belief was true? Is this belief based on facts or feelings, assumptions or interpretations? Would objective observer agree with this assessment or see it differently?
Am I confusing past experiences with present reality or permanent truth? And what more balanced, realistic alternative belief would fit evidence better? Evidence examination often reveals limiting beliefs are maintained through selective attention to confirming evidence while dismissing contradicting evidence, creating illusion belief is fact when actually it is distorted interpretation. Challenging exposes beliefs to reality testing, revealing them as changeable thoughts, not immutable truths about you. The cognitive reframing creates empowering alternative beliefs that support rather than sabotage goals. Reframing transforms limiting beliefs into accurate supportive thoughts. Examples include reframing I am not capable enough to I am developing capabilities and can learn what I need. I do not deserve success to I am worthy and deserving of good outcomes from my efforts.
My goals are impossible to my goals are challenging, but achievable with effort and strategy. I always fail to I have experienced both successes and failures, and can learn from both. And I am fundamentally flawed to I am human with both strengths and weaknesses working on growth. Effective reframes are realistic and believable, not Pollyanna positive affirmations you cannot accept.
Bridge from limiting belief to empowering alternative through intermediate beliefs that feel more credible, like moving from I will definitely fail to I might succeed if I try my best, and learn from setbacks, which feels more acceptable than jumping to I will definitely succeed. The belief testing experiments with behaving as if empowering belief were true, gathering evidence through action. If you believed you were capable, what would you try? If you believed you deserved success, how would you behave? And if you believed change were possible, what would you do differently?
Behavioral experiments generate new evidence that can shift beliefs through demonstrated capability. The thought stopping interrupts limiting belief loops when you notice them arising. When catching limiting thought, use phrase like that is old limiting belief, not current reality. Or there is that not good enough story, again creating distance from thought rather than accepting it as truth. The affirmation practice repeats empowering beliefs regularly, building new neural pathways. Write and repeat alternative beliefs daily even before fully believing them. Repetition gradually shifts default thoughts. The belief journaling tracks limiting beliefs that arise and challenges them systematically in writing.
Journal format might include limiting belief that arose, evidence for and against, alternative empowering belief, and action based on new belief. The implementation requires identifying specific limiting beliefs fueling sabotage and failure, challenging beliefs with evidence, examining actual support, creating realistic empowering alternative beliefs through cognitive reframing, testing new beliefs through behavioral experiments, interrupting limiting thought loops with thought stopping, practicing affirmations, building new patterns, journaling beliefs, systematically challenging them,
and treating belief transformation as removing mental obstacles where limiting thoughts ensured self-fulfilling failure prophecies, making cognitive restructuring essential. Third framework for dismantling invisible architecture, supporting self-sabotage. Dismantle limiting beliefs fueling failure.
challenge, replace, empower, transform beliefs or confirm limitations. You understand now that beliefs shape behavior and create self-fulfilling prophecies, that limiting thoughts fuel sabotage directly, that evidence challenging reveals beliefs are distortions, not facts, that reframing creates empowering alternatives, and that Chapter 3 provides belief framework, making mental transformation possible, where unchallenged limitations ensured failure. Chapter 4. Heal fear of success and self-worth issues. Chapter 4 heals fear of success and self-worth issues, addressing deep psychological resistance to achievement and unworthiness that block accepting positive outcomes. The fear understanding shows that fear of success is genuine common psychological phenomenon, not just fear of failure in disguise, where people unconsciously resist and sabotage achievement because success feels threatening, dangerous, or incompatible with identity. That unworthiness and low self-esteem create internal barrier to accepting success because achieving goals feels inconsistent with core belief that you do not deserve good outcomes, that these deep issues operate largely unconsciously, creating resistance you experience as mysterious inability to follow through or inexplicable self-sabotage at threshold of success. That healing requires addressing underlying fears and worth issues, not just pushing through resistance with willpower, which intensifies internal conflict, and understanding that systematically healing fear of success and self-worth through exploration, worthiness building, and permission granting is essential. Fourth framework for stopping self-sabotage, because unresolved fear and unworthiness create powerful unconscious resistance, ensuring sabotage regardless of conscious desire, making psychological healing critical for removing blocks preventing achievement. Heal fear of success and self-worth issues. Build deserving, allow achievement. Heal blocks or fear success. The success-fear exploration identifies specific ways success feels threatening, creating unconscious resistance. Fear of success manifestations include fear that success will bring unwanted visibility, attention, and scrutiny, making you target for judgment, criticism, or envy. Fear that achievement will separate you from family, friends, or community who share different circumstances, creating isolation or rejection. Fear that success proves you are not who you thought you were, threatening stable identity. Fear of increased responsibility, expectations, and pressure that success brings, doubting ability to sustain performance. Fear that success is temporary or will be taken away, creating anxiety about eventual loss. Fear of discovering you are fraud or imposter when success brings higher stakes examination. And fear that achieving goals eliminates comforting excuse or familiar struggle that has defined identity. Explore fears through asking, what makes me uncomfortable about idea of fully succeeding? What would I lose, or what would change if I achieved my goals? What terrible thing might happen if I got everything I wanted? How might success threaten my relationships or identity? And what responsibilities or expectations would success create that worry me? Exploration reveals that sabotaging success is not mysterious but logical protection from outcomes unconscious mind perceives as genuinely threatening, even when conscious mind desperately wants achievement. The worthiness building develops healthy self-esteem and internalized sense of deserving good outcomes. Unworthiness manifests as feeling you do not deserve success, happiness, or positive outcomes, creating sabotage that ensures outcomes match low self-worth. Build worthiness through identifying sources of unworthiness like childhood messages, criticism, trauma, or comparisons. Challenging core belief that you are undeserving by examining evidence and questioning validity. Practicing self-compassion and self-acceptance, treating yourself with kindness rather than harsh judgment. Celebrating small wins and acknowledging your efforts and achievements, however modest. Recognizing inherent worth as human beings separate from achievements or productivity. Doing estimable acts, taking actions aligned with values, building self-respect. And gradually expanding comfort zone with receiving good things, practicing accepting compliments, opportunities, and positive outcomes without deflecting or sabotaging. Worthiness building is gradual process requiring patience and persistence as years of internalized unworthiness shift slowly toward healthy self-regard. The permission granting gives yourself explicit psychological permission to succeed and be happy. Many self-saboteurs carry unconscious prohibition against success, often internalized from family or culture. Grant permission through consciously stating, I give myself permission to succeed and be happy. I am allowed to achieve my goals and enjoy outcomes. Examining and releasing any guilt about surpassing family members or peers, recognizing their limitations do not define your possibilities. Forgiving yourself for past failures and releasing them as defining your worth or potential. Recognizing that your success does not harm others and may actually inspire or benefit them. Accepting that you can honor your origins while creating different outcomes for yourself, and releasing need for others' approval to pursue your goals, recognizing you are ultimate authority on your life. Permission granting releases internal prohibitions, freeing you to pursue achievement without unconscious sabotage. The imposter syndrome addressing recognizes and challenges feeling that you are fraud who does not deserve success and will be exposed. Addressing imposter feelings through recognizing they are common experience, not accurate assessment. Examining evidence of actual competence and preparation rather than dismissing achievements as luck. Accepting that everyone feels uncertain sometimes and feeling like fraud does not mean you are one. And practicing owning your accomplishments rather than attributing them to external factors. The success visualization practices mentally experiencing and accepting positive outcomes, building comfort with achievement. Visualize yourself succeeding and enjoying outcomes. Notice what discomfort or resistance arises. Explore fears that surface, and practice accepting success in imagination, building psychological readiness. The incremental exposure gradually experiences small successes, building tolerance for positive outcomes. Start with minor achievements, building comfort before pursuing larger goals, preventing overwhelming resistance. The values alignment ensures goals genuinely align with authentic values, not imposed expectations, eliminating internal conflict. Pursuing goals misaligned with values creates resistance, while authentic goals feel right. The implementation requires exploring specific fears, making success feel threatening. Building worthiness, developing healthy, deserving of good outcomes. Granting explicit permission, releasing internal prohibitions. Addressing imposter syndrome. Challenging fraud feelings. Visualizing success, building psychological comfort. Using incremental exposure, practicing small wins. Aligning goals with authentic values, and treating fear and worth healing as removing deep blocks where unresolved. Psychological resistance ensured sabotage regardless of effort, making healing essential. Fourth framework for allowing achievement. Heal fear of success and self-worth issues. Build deserving, allow achievement. Heal blocks or fear success. You understand now that fear of success is real and blocks achievement, that unworthiness creates internal barrier to accepting success. That exploration reveals success feels threatening, that worthiness building develops deserving, and that Chapter 4 provides healing framework, making psychological readiness possible, where unresolved fears prevented achievement. Chapter 5. Develop self-compassion, replacing self-criticism. Chapter 5 develops self-compassion, replacing harsh, punishing self-criticism with supportive, kind internal dialogue that enables growth and achievement. The compassion power shows that self-compassion and kindness toward yourself actually motivate positive change more effectively than harsh criticism and punishment, because compassion creates psychological safety, enabling honest assessment and risk-taking, while criticism creates shame and defensive avoidance. That cruel internal voice attacking you for mistakes and imperfections fuels sabotage through creating anxiety, shame, and hopelessness that trigger self-defeating coping behaviors. That treating yourself with same understanding and support you would offer struggling friend creates resilience and persistence, while self-attack creates fragility and giving up. That self-compassion is not self-indulgence or lowering standards, but providing emotional support that enables pursuing high standards without crushing yourself when you fall short. And understanding that systematically developing self-compassion through recognizing self-criticism, practicing kind self-talk, and accepting imperfection is essential. Fifth framework for stopping self-sabotage, because harsh internal environment makes mistakes feel catastrophic, triggering defensive sabotage, while compassionate environment makes growth feel safe, enabling honest effort and learning, making self-compassion critical for creating internal conditions supporting rather than undermining achievement. Develop self-compassion, replacing self-criticism. Treat yourself with kindness. Practice compassion or criticize harshly. The critical voice recognition identifies harsh, punishing internal dialogue that attacks you for mistakes, imperfections, or perceived inadequacies.
Critical self-talk includes harsh judgment like you are so stupid or worthless, catastrophizing where minor mistakes feel like proof of fundamental inadequacy, all or nothing thinking where anything less than perfection is complete failure. Comparison thoughts highlighting how others are better than you, and should statements creating pressure and guilt. Recognize critical voice through noticing tone and content of internal dialogue, especially after mistakes or setbacks, paying attention to feelings that internal thoughts create like shame, anxiety, or hopelessness, becoming aware of habitual phrases or themes in self-criticism.
And recognizing that critical voice often echoes harsh external critics from past, like parents, teachers, or peers whose judgments you internalized.
Critical voice recognition makes automatic cruel self-talk conscious rather than accepting it as truth, enabling choice to respond differently.
The compassionate reframing transforms harsh self-criticism into kind, supportive self-talk. Reframing asks, what would I say to a good friend in this situation, offering perspective rather than attack? How can I acknowledge this is difficult while still encouraging myself forward? What is kind, truthful response that supports growth rather than punishes? And how can I separate my worth as person from this specific mistake or setback? Compassionate alternatives to criticism include, this is hard, and I am doing my best. I made mistake, and that is okay. Everyone makes mistakes, and I can learn from this. I am struggling right now, and that does not mean I am failure. It means I am human. This setback is disappointing, and I will figure out how to move forward. And I care about myself and want to support my growth with kindness, not cruelty. Compassionate reframing maintains accountability and growth orientation while removing toxic shame and attack that trigger defensive sabotage. The mistake acceptance allows imperfection and errors as normal, inevitable part of being human and learning rather than evidence of fundamental unworthiness. Acceptance means expecting mistakes as natural part of any challenging endeavor, responding to errors with curiosity about what can be learned rather than shame about what they mean about you. Forgiving yourself for imperfections, recognizing you are works in progress, not finished product, and treating setbacks as temporary events, not permanent characteristics. Mistake acceptance prevents perfectionism paralysis and catastrophic shame that fuel sabotage. The self-kindness practice actively treats yourself with care, support, and understanding, especially during difficulty. Self-kindness includes comforting yourself when struggling like you would comfort a friend, taking care of physical and emotional needs rather than punishing through deprivation, speaking to yourself in warm, encouraging tone rather than harsh, demanding voice, and giving yourself permission to rest, recover, and have needs without guilt. Self-kindness creates internal supportive environment. The common humanity recognition understands struggle, imperfection, and difficulty are universal human experiences, not signs of personal inadequacy. Recognizing common humanity means remembering everyone struggles, fails, and feels inadequate at times. Understanding you are not alone or uniquely flawed in experiencing difficulty, and connecting your struggles to broader human experience rather than seeing them as evidence you are defective. Common humanity combats isolating shame. The mindful awareness observes difficult thoughts and feelings with acceptance rather than harsh judgment or suppression. Mindfulness toward inner experience means noticing self-critical thoughts without accepting them as truth, acknowledging difficult emotions without being overwhelmed or attacking yourself for having them, and observing inner experience with curiosity rather than condemnation. Mindful awareness creates space between experience and reaction. The self-compassion mantra uses phrases during difficulty like, may I be kind to myself, may I accept myself as I am. This is moment of suffering and suffering is part of life. Or may I give myself compassion I need. Mantras provide accessible self-soothing. The self-compassion letter writes letter to yourself from perspective of compassionate friend offering understanding and support. Writing compassionate perspective helps internalize kind voice. The implementation requires recognizing harsh, critical internal voice that attacks you, reframing criticism into compassionate, supportive self-talk, accepting mistakes and imperfection as normal human experience, practicing active self-kindness and care, recognizing common humanity of struggle, developing mindful awareness of inner experience, using self-compassion mantras, writing compassionate letters to yourself, and treating self-compassion as creating internal supportive environment. Enabling growth where harsh criticism created shame and defensive sabotage, making compassion essential. Fifth framework for replacing self-attack with self-support. Develop self-compassion, replacing self-criticism. Treat yourself with kindness.
practice compassion, or criticize harshly.
You understand now that compassion motivates better than criticism, that harsh self-talk fuels sabotage through shame, that kind reframing maintains accountability without attack, that mistake acceptance prevents perfectionism paralysis, and that Chapter 5 provides compassion framework making self-support possible where criticism created defensiveness. Chapter 6 builds sustainable motivation and commitment. Chapter 6 builds sustainable motivation and commitment, creating lasting intrinsic drive toward goals that persists through challenges and setbacks. The motivation understanding shows that sustainable motivation comes from internal values, meaning, and authentic desire, not external rewards, pressure, or should-based obligation, which fade quickly when obstacles arise. That commitment built on alignment with core values and genuine purpose creates resilience and persistence, while commitment based on external expectations or escape from current pain collapses when difficulty intensifies. That motivation fluctuates naturally and relying solely on feeling motivated ensures inconsistency, while commitment enables action even when motivation is low. That understanding your why provides fuel during difficulty, reminding you what makes effort worthwhile when results are distant. And understanding that systematically building sustainable motivation through intrinsic connection, goal alignment, and commitment strengthening is essential. 6 framework for stopping self-sabotage, because weak motivation based on external pressure or fleeting enthusiasm cannot sustain effort through inevitable challenges, making values-based commitment critical for persistent action that overcomes sabotage patterns. Build sustainable motivation and commitment. Connect to intrinsic values deeply. Sustain motivation or rely on willpower. The intrinsic connection links goals to core values, personal meaning, and authentic desires, creating motivation that comes from within rather than external pressure. Intrinsic motivation includes pursuing goals because they align with who you want to be and what matters to you. Finding inherent satisfaction and meaning in the process and activities themselves, not just outcomes. Connecting effort to values like growth, creativity, contribution, autonomy, or mastery. And experiencing goals as self-chosen expressions of authentic self, not obligations imposed by others. Identify intrinsic motivation through asking, why does this goal actually matter to me beyond external rewards or approval? What values does pursuing this goal express or honor? How does achieving this connect to the person I want to become? What about the process itself do I find meaningful or satisfying? And would I still pursue this if nobody else knew or cared? Goals driven by intrinsic motivation feel energizing and meaningful, while those driven solely by external pressure feel draining and obligatory. Strengthen intrinsic motivation by clarifying personal values, identifying what matters most to you, connecting specific goals to those values, making purpose explicit, finding aspects of process you genuinely enjoy or find meaningful, and ensuring goals serve your authentic desires, not just others' expectations. The goal alignment ensures goals genuinely match values, priorities, and authentic self, not imposed expectations or internalized shoulds. Misaligned goals create internal resistance and sabotage, because part of you knows goal does not serve real needs or values. Align goals through examining where the goal comes from authentic desire or external pressure, obligation, or escape from current pain. Assessing whether achieving goal would actually create life you want or just life you think you should want. Identifying whether goal expresses your values or someone else's expectations. And ensuring goal timeline and approach honor your needs and circumstances. Misalignment reveals itself through lack of enthusiasm, persistent procrastination, or relief when obstacles provide excuse to quit. Realign through modifying goals to better match values, releasing goals pursued only for external approval, or finding ways to approach necessary goals that honor your authentic preferences and strengths. The commitment strengthening builds dedication and follow-through capacity, enabling action even when motivation wanes. Commitment means deciding to pursue goal and maintaining that decision through ups and downs. Taking action based on commitment, not waiting for motivation to return. Viewing setbacks as part of journey, not reasons to quit. And honoring promises made to yourself, treating them as seriously as promises to others. Strengthen commitment through making explicit decision, committing to specific goal and approach, identifying in advance obstacles you will likely face and deciding how you will respond, creating structures and systems that support follow-through, removing reliance on willpower alone. Building identity as person who keeps commitments to self, increasing psychological investment.
And remembering that motivation follows action as much as precedes it, meaning taking action often regenerates.
Motivation.
Strong commitment bridges gaps when motivation temporarily dips. The purpose clarification articulates compelling why driving effort through obstacles.
Purpose provides meaning, making struggle worthwhile.
Clarify purpose through identifying what achieving goal would enable or make possible in your life. Understanding how goal connects to larger vision or values. Recognizing who might benefit from your achievement, and articulating specific reasons this matters enough to persist through difficulty. Written purpose statement reminds you why you started when challenges tempt quitting.
The progress celebration acknowledges small wins and incremental advancement, maintaining motivation through recognizing forward movement. Celebrating progress includes marking milestones and achievements, however modest, tracking progress visually, seeing accumulation over time, rewarding yourself for effort and consistency, not just outcomes, and appreciating how far you have come rather than fixating only on distance remaining. Celebration reinforces motivation.
The motivation maintenance recognizes natural fluctuation and plans for periods of low motivation.
Maintenance includes accepting motivation varies and planning systems that enable action regardless, identifying activities that tend to boost motivation for you, creating momentum through starting small when motivation is low, and using commitment and structure to carry you through motivation dips. Expecting fluctuation prevents interpreting it as failure. The recommitment practice periodically renews dedication when waning.
Regular recommitment includes reviewing why goal matters, reactivating purpose, assessing progress, celebrating gains, adjusting approach if needed, updating strategies, and making fresh explicit commitment, choosing to continue. Recommitment prevents drift.
The implementation requires connecting goals to intrinsic values and authentic meaning, ensuring alignment between goals and true self, not imposed expectations, strengthening commitment, enabling action beyond motivation, clarifying compelling purpose, articulating why, celebrating progress, reinforcing through recognition, maintaining motivation through fluctuation planning, periodically recommitting, renewing dedication, and treating sustainable motivation as coming from values-based internal drive where external pressure or fleeting enthusiasm fail to sustain, making intrinsic connection essential. 6 Framework for persistent effort, overcoming sabotage.
Build sustainable motivation and commitment.
Connect to intrinsic values deeply.
Sustain motivation or rely on willpower.
You understand now that sustainable motivation comes from intrinsic values, not external pressure. That goal alignment prevents internal resistance. That commitment enables action beyond motivation. That purpose provides meaning through difficulty. And that Chapter 6 provides motivation framework, making persistent drive possible where weak motivation collapsed. Chapter 7. Create accountability and support systems. Chapter 7 creates accountability and support systems, providing external structure, encouragement, and commitment that multiply success probability and prevent self-sabotage.
The system power shows that external accountability dramatically increases follow-through, because commitment made to others feels more binding than private commitment to yourself, which is easily rationalized away. That support from others provides encouragement, perspective, and resources that make challenges more manageable, while isolation enables unchallenged negative thinking and easy abandonment of goals. That structure and systems remove reliance on willpower and motivation alone by creating
environmental scaffolding that supports consistent action. That most successful people attribute achievement partly to accountability partners, mentors, coaches, or communities that kept them committed during difficulty. And understanding that systematically creating accountability through partnerships, support networks, and structure establishment is essential. 7th Framework for stopping self-sabotage, because external systems provide backup when internal commitment wavers, catching you before full relapse into sabotage, making relationship-based support critical for maintaining consistency through challenges that would defeat isolated effort. Create accountability and support systems.
Build structure, get support. Establish systems or work isolated. The accountability partnership creates relationship with specific person or group committed to supporting your goals and holding you accountable for commitments. Effective accountability includes finding accountability partner or group with similar goals or commitment to growth. Establishing regular check-ins weekly or more frequently, sharing progress and challenges, making specific commitments to partner about actions you will take, creating external obligation, reporting both successes and setbacks honestly without hiding struggles, receiving encouragement, support, and tough love when needed, and reciprocating accountability, providing same support to partner, creating mutual benefit. Accountability works through making commitment social and public, increasing psychological cost of breaking promises, providing external observation that catches rationalization and excuses you might accept from yourself, creating regular deadlines and review points, preventing indefinite procrastination, and offering support that helps you persist through challenges rather than quitting alone. Choose accountability partner who will be honest and supportive, not enabling or harshly judgmental, finding balance between compassion and high standards.
The support network builds relationships with people who encourage growth, provide resources, and believe in your capabilities.
Support network includes mentors or coaches who have achieved what you pursue, providing guidance and perspective, peers or friends who share similar goals or values, offering mutual encouragement, family members or loved ones who provide emotional support even if not directly involved in goals, and communities or groups focused on relevant domains, providing belonging and shared knowledge.
Build support through identifying people who already support your growth and strengthening those relationships, seeking new connections through groups, programs, or communities aligned with goals, asking for specific support from people in your life, clearly communicating needs, contributing to others' growth, creating reciprocal supportive relationships, and limiting time with people who undermine efforts or reinforce sabotage patterns.
Support network provides multiple benefits, including encouragement during setbacks, celebration of wins, practical advice and resources, accountability through social connection, and sense of belonging, preventing isolation that enables sabotage.
The structure establishment creates environmental systems and routines that support consistent action, removing reliance on willpower.
Structure includes creating regular schedules for working on goals, making action habitual, not requiring daily decision, establishing routines and rituals that trigger productive behaviors, designing environment to support goals like removing distractions or placing useful resources visibly, using tools and technology that facilitate progress like apps, calendars, or tracking systems, and building habits through small, consistent actions that become automatic. Structure works through making positive behaviors default path of least resistance, while sabotaging behaviors require active choice, removing decision fatigue by automating routine aspects of pursuit, creating momentum through consistency that makes continuation easier than stopping, and providing external framework supporting action when internal motivation or discipline wanes.
The public commitment declares goals and intentions to others, increasing psychological investment and social pressure to follow through.
Public commitment might include sharing goals with friends, family, or social networks, joining groups or programs with shared goals, posting progress updates, creating visibility, or making formal commitments through contracts or public declarations. Public commitment creates accountability through others knowing your intentions and potentially checking progress.
The professional support enlists experts like coaches, therapists, or trainers, providing specialized guidance. Professional support includes hiring coach or consultant with expertise in relevant domain, working with therapist addressing psychological blocks, joining programs or courses providing structured guidance, or finding mentor willing to guide development. Professional support accelerates progress through leveraging others' expertise. The progress tracking uses systems for monitoring advancement, providing objective feedback. Tracking includes keeping journal or log of actions and results, using apps or spreadsheets recording metrics, taking photos or other documentation showing change, or maintaining visible calendar marking consistent actions. Tracking provides accountability through creating record and motivation through showing progress. The consequence establishment creates stakes for following through or failing to act. Consequences might include financial commitments like paid programs or bet contracts, social commitments creating embarrassment risk if you quit, or tying goals to important values creating internal pressure.
Stakes increase follow through.
The implementation requires creating accountability partnership with regular check-ins and commitments, building support network providing encouragement and resources, establishing structure and systems supporting consistent action, making public commitments increasing social investment, enlisting professional support when beneficial, tracking progress providing objective feedback, establishing consequences creating stakes, and treating external systems as multiplying success probability where
Isolation enabled rationalization and abandonment, making accountability and support essential. Seventh framework for preventing self-sabotage through external scaffolding, catching you when internal commitment wavers. Create accountability and support systems. Build structure, get support. Establish systems or work isolated.
You understand now that external accountability increases follow-through dramatically, that support network provides encouragement and resources, that structure removes reliance on willpower alone, that public commitment creates social pressure, and that Chapter 7 provides systems framework making external support possible where isolation enabled continued sabotage. Chapter 8. Reframe failure as learning and growth.
Chapter 8 reframes failure as learning and growth, transforming how you interpret and respond to setbacks, preventing them from triggering destructive sabotage cycles.
The reframing power shows that how you interpret failure determines whether it fuels growth or triggers deeper sabotage, because viewing setbacks as proof of inadequacy creates shame and hopelessness that justify giving up, while viewing them as valuable feedback enables adjustment and persistence.
The growth mindset, seeing abilities as developable through effort, transforms challenges into opportunities, while fixed mindset, seeing abilities as unchangeable, makes difficulties feel like revealing
Inadequacy, that successful people experience as much or more failure than unsuccessful people, but interpret setbacks differently, extracting lessons and maintaining confidence, while self-saboteurs interpret failure as confirming fears. That reframing failure removes catastrophic meaning that triggers defensive self-protection, enabling you to learn from mistakes rather than avoiding all risk of setback, and understanding that reframing failure through normalization, lesson extraction, and growth. Focus is essential eighth framework for stopping self-sabotage, because catastrophic interpretation of inevitable setbacks ensures defensive self-protection and eventual abandonment, while learning-focused interpretation enables resilience and continuous improvement, making cognitive reframing critical for maintaining forward progress despite difficulties.
Reframe failure as learning and growth. Extract lessons, develop resilience. Learn from failure or confirm inadequacy.
The failure normalization accepts setbacks, mistakes, and temporary failures as inevitable normal part of any worthwhile pursuit rather than catastrophic proof of unworthiness. Normalization means expecting difficulties as natural aspect of growth and learning, understanding that everyone pursuing challenging goals experiences setbacks and obstacles, recognizing that failure is event not identity, meaning you failed at something, not that you are failure.
And viewing temporary setbacks as part of process, not final verdict on capabilities.
Normalize failure through studying successful people's paths, recognizing their numerous failures and setbacks, remembering your own past situations where initial failure preceded eventual success, understanding that learning anything new requires making mistakes as practice, and accepting that worthwhile goals involve uncertainty and risk, making some failure inevitable. Normalization prevents interpreting setbacks as confirming fears of inadequacy, instead seeing them as expected predictable occurrences that provide information for adjustment. The lesson extraction systematically identifies insights and learning from failures, rather than just feeling bad about them.
Extraction means analyzing what specifically went wrong, identifying concrete factors, not vague you failed, determining what was within your control versus external circumstances, focusing learning on actionable factors, identifying what you would do differently next time, creating specific improvement plan,
recognizing what worked even in overall failure, finding elements to keep, and extracting generalizable lessons that apply beyond specific situation, building wisdom. Lesson extraction through asking, what can I learn from this experience? What specific factors contributed to this outcome? What was in my control that I could adjust? What feedback does this provide about my approach or assumptions? And how can I apply this learning going forward? Systematic extraction transforms failure from wasted painful experience into valuable education, accelerating growth. The growth focus emphasizes development, progress, and effort over outcomes and natural talent. Growth mindset developed by Carol Dweck shows that believing abilities develop through practice creates resilience, while believing abilities are fixed creates fragility. Cultivate growth focus through praising effort, strategy, and progress, not just outcomes or innate talent. Viewing challenges as opportunities to develop capabilities, not threats, revealing limitations. Understanding that struggle and difficulty are signs you are learning, not signs you lack ability. Celebrating incremental progress and small improvements, and focusing on what you are learning and how you are growing, not just whether you succeeded or failed. Growth focus makes setbacks feel like temporary obstacles in development journey, not permanent verdicts on potential. The experimentation mindset treats efforts as experiments generating data rather than tests proving worth.
Experimental approach includes framing attempts as tests of approaches, not tests of you. Viewing outcomes as information about what works, not judgments about adequacy. Trying multiple approaches, recognizing some will work better than others, and maintaining curiosity about results rather than defensiveness. Experimentation removes personal stakes, making failure informative, not devastating. The resilience building develops capacity to recover from setbacks and persist through difficulty. Resilience includes bouncing back emotionally from disappointments, maintaining commitment despite obstacles, adapting strategies based on feedback, and viewing persistence as strength. Build resilience through experiencing and recovering from small setbacks, building confidence, developing emotion regulation, managing disappointment, maintaining perspective, remembering setbacks are temporary, and connecting to purpose, remembering why goal matters.
The language reframing changes how you describe setbacks using growth-oriented language.
Instead of "I failed," say "I have not succeeded yet." Instead of "I cannot do this," say "I cannot do this yet, but I am learning." Instead of "This proves I am not good enough," say "This shows me what I need to work on."
Language shapes mindset. The comparative perspective recognizes your setbacks are often smaller than imagined when compared to actual catastrophes.
Asking "How bad is this?" really helps maintain proportionality, preventing catastrophizing.
The future orientation focuses on what comes next and how to move forward rather than dwelling on past failure. Forward focus includes asking what is my next step, how do I want to respond to this, and what can I try differently. The implementation requires normalizing failure as expected part of growth process, extracting specific lessons and insights from setbacks, maintaining growth focus, emphasizing development over outcomes, adopting experimentation mindset, treating efforts as data generation, building resilience through recovering from difficulties, reframing language using growth-oriented descriptions, maintaining comparative perspective, preventing catastrophizing, focusing on future and next steps, and treating
failure reframing as preventing catastrophic interpretation, where fixed mindset viewed setbacks as confirming inadequacy, triggering defensive sabotage, making learning focus essential. Eighth framework for maintaining progress despite inevitable difficulties. Reframe failure as learning and growth. Extract lessons, develop resilience.
learn from failure or confirm inadequacy. You understand now that failure interpretation determines whether setbacks fuel growth or trigger sabotage, that normalization accepts difficulties as expected, that lesson extraction transforms failure into education, that growth mindset sees abilities as developable, and that Chapter 8 provides reframing framework making resilience possible where catastrophic interpretation triggered defensive giving up. Chapter 9. Develop emotional regulation managing resistance. Chapter 9 develops emotional regulation managing resistance and uncomfortable feelings that trigger self-sabotaging behaviors. The regulation power shows that difficult emotions like anxiety, fear, frustration, or shame are primary triggers activating sabotage patterns, because uncomfortable feelings create strong impulse to escape or avoid through familiar self-defeating coping mechanisms. That emotional flooding and overwhelm impair judgment and impulse control, making sabotage more likely during high emotional arousal states. That developing capacity to tolerate and regulate difficult emotions without immediately
reacting removes major trigger for sabotage, enabling you to feel discomfort without derailing progress. That resistance and uncomfortable feelings are inevitable during growth and change, meaning you must develop relationship with discomfort that allows persistence rather than avoidance. And understanding that developing emotional regulation through awareness techniques and tolerance building is essential. Ninth framework for stopping self-sabotage, because unmanaged emotions trigger reactive
self-defeating behaviors, while regulated emotions can be experienced and processed without destructive action, making emotional management critical for preventing feelings from controlling behavior.
Develop emotional regulation managing resistance.
Manage emotions, tolerate discomfort, regulate feelings, or sabotage reactively. The emotion awareness recognizes when difficult feelings arise, identifying specific emotions before they escalate and trigger reactive sabotage.
Awareness includes noticing physical sensations that signal emotions like tension, rapid heartbeat, or stomach discomfort. Identifying specific emotion you are experiencing like anxiety, frustration, shame, or fear using precise labels. Recognizing situations or triggers that reliably activate difficult emotions, and catching emotional escalation early before reaching overwhelming intensity. Develop awareness through regular check-ins throughout day, asking "What am I feeling right now?" Practicing mindfulness meditation, building observation skills, keeping emotion log, tracking feelings and triggers, and learning to recognize your personal emotional signature, identifying how each emotion manifests physically and mentally for you.
Early emotion awareness enables intervention before feelings trigger automatic sabotage. The regulation techniques provide tools for managing emotional intensity, preventing overwhelm that triggers reactive behavior. Regulation strategies include controlled breathing using slow deep breaths, activating parasympathetic nervous system that calms arousal. Progressive muscle relaxation, systematically releasing physical tension. Grounding techniques focusing attention on present moment physical sensations, pulling attention from emotional spiral. Cognitive reappraisal, changing thoughts about situation, reducing emotional intensity. Distraction, temporarily shifting attention to neutral activity, allowing arousal to
Decrease physical activity, releasing stress hormones and tension, and expressing emotions through journaling or talking, processing feelings constructively. Practice regulation techniques during calm times, making them accessible when emotions intensify. Match technique to situation using calming strategies when over-aroused and energizing strategies when under-aroused.
The discomfort tolerance builds capacity to sit with uncomfortable feelings without immediately trying to eliminate them through sabotage.
Tolerance means accepting that discomfort is temporary and will pass without action, allowing feelings to exist without judging them as unbearable or catastrophic. Recognizing that tolerating discomfort builds strength while always escaping maintains vulnerability, and understanding that many goals require persisting through uncomfortable feelings like anxiety about visibility or fear of failure.
Build tolerance through exposing yourself to manageable discomfort, practicing sitting with it, using mindfulness to observe discomfort without reacting, reminding yourself discomfort is temporary and you have survived it before, and recognizing difference between discomfort and danger, where discomfort can be tolerated while danger requires action. Tolerance practice might include staying in mildly anxiety-provoking situations, continuing work when feeling frustrated or discouraged, or accepting uncertainty without immediately seeking relief. Graduated exposure builds tolerance progressively.
The urge surfing rides impulses to sabotage without acting on them, recognizing urges peak then naturally subside.
When experiencing urge to engage sabotage behavior like procrastination or quitting, pause and observe urge like wave building then passing. Remind yourself urge will decrease without action required. Use regulation techniques managing intensity, and wait for urge to pass before deciding whether to act. Surfing builds confidence that you can experience impulses without being controlled by them. The self-soothing provides comfort during emotional difficulty through healthy means replacing sabotaging coping mechanisms.
Self-soothing includes talking to yourself compassionately, engaging in comforting activities like bath music or tea, reaching out for support from others, practicing self-care, addressing physical and emotional needs, and using imagery or memories that create calm. Healthy soothing meets emotional needs without sabotaging goals.
The emotion acceptance allows feelings without judgment or resistance, paradoxically reducing their intensity and duration. Acceptance means acknowledging I feel anxious or frustrated right now, and that is okay. Recognizing emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent states, and allowing feelings without demanding they disappear immediately.
Resistance amplifies emotions while acceptance enables natural processing.
The trigger management identifies and addresses situations reliably triggering difficult emotions. Management includes anticipating predictable triggers, preparing regulation strategies, modifying environment when possible, reducing trigger exposure, developing specific coping plans for known triggers, and addressing root causes when triggers stem from unresolved issues. The mindful observation watches thoughts and feelings with detachment rather than identifying with them completely. Observer perspective includes recognizing I am having thought I will fail versus believing I will fail as absolute truth, noticing I feel anxious versus I am anxious person, and creating space between experience and identity. The implementation requires developing emotion awareness, recognizing feelings early, using regulation techniques managing intensity, preventing overwhelm, building discomfort tolerance, sitting with difficult feelings, surfing urges without reactive action. Practicing healthy self-soothing, accepting emotions without resistance, managing predictable triggers, cultivating mindful observation, and treating emotional regulation as preventing feelings from triggering sabotage where unmanaged emotions created reactive self-defeat, making regulation essential. Ninth framework for feeling without destructively acting.
Develop emotional regulation, managing resistance.
Manage emotions, tolerate discomfort.
Regulate feelings or sabotage reactively.
You understand now that emotions trigger sabotage behaviors, that awareness enables early intervention, that regulation techniques prevent overwhelm, that discomfort tolerance enables persistence, and that Chapter 9 provides regulation framework making emotional management possible where reactive emotions triggered self-defeat. Chapter 10. Integrate all elements into comprehensive self-support system. Chapter 10 integrates all 9 frameworks into comprehensive self-support system, eliminating self-sabotage and enabling sustained achievement.
The integration principle shows that individual frameworks practiced in isolation create partial improvements, while comprehensive integration creates complete self-support, replacing self-defeat with self-encouragement across all dimensions. That stopping self-sabotage requires simultaneous addressing of awareness, beliefs, emotions, motivation, support, and interpretation working together synergistically. That each framework enhances effectiveness of others through complementary mechanisms, creating
multiplication, not mere addition of benefits. That most people address one aspect, like building motivation, while neglecting others like healing fear of success, creating incomplete change that eventually collapses.
and understanding that integrating all 9 frameworks into systematic practice, creating cohesive self-support architecture, is essential 10th and final framework for stopping self-sabotage, because only complete integration creates comprehensive transformation from self-defeating patterns to self-supporting systems, making integration critical culmination, enabling sustained achievement of goals that self-sabotage previously prevented. Integrate all elements into comprehensive self-support system. Combine synergistically. Build complete support or remain vulnerable.
The support architecture maps how all 9 frameworks combine, creating coherent integrated self-support.
Pattern recognition from Framework 1 creates awareness, enabling intervention.
Root cause understanding from Framework 2 addresses underlying drivers.
Belief transformation from Framework 3 removes mental obstacles. Fear and worth healing from Framework 4 eliminates deep blocks. Self-compassion from Framework 5 replaces harsh criticism with support. Sustainable motivation from Framework 6 provides lasting drive. Accountability systems from Framework 7 add external support. Failure reframing from Framework 8 enables resilience. Emotional regulation from Framework 9 prevents reactive sabotage.
Each framework supports, enables, and enhances others, creating integrated system far more powerful than individual techniques, creating genuine comprehensive self-support. The synergistic multiplication recognizes how frameworks amplify each other's effectiveness.
Pattern awareness enables early intervention before full sabotage activates.
Root cause understanding targets specific issues revealed through pattern analysis.
Belief transformation addresses limiting thoughts identified as causes. Fear healing removes resistance, making motivation sustainable.
Self-compassion enables honest awareness without defensive denial.
Accountability catches lapses before full relapse. Failure reframing maintains motivation through setbacks.
Emotional regulation prevents feelings from triggering old patterns. Consciously leverage synergies, applying multiple frameworks together, recognizing combinations create effects individual elements cannot achieve alone. The phase development recognizes complete transformation requires sustained commitment, making strategic progression essential. Awareness phase months 1 to 2 focuses frameworks 1 and 2 building recognition and understanding. Foundation phase months 3 to 4 adds frameworks 3 and 4 addressing beliefs and worth. Support phase months 5 to 6 integrates frameworks 5 through 7, building compassion, motivation, and accountability. Resilience phase months 7 to 9 adds frameworks 8 and 9, developing reframing and regulation. Integration phase months 10 to 12 combines all elements into cohesive system. Complete transformation typically requires 1 year of sustained, deliberate practice, creating genuinely comprehensive self-support. The balanced attention maintains practice across all framework areas rather than obsessively focusing on single dimension while neglecting others. Complete self-support requires adequacy across all dimensions. Establish practice in all areas, tracking development across frameworks, identifying lacking elements requiring focus, and maintaining comprehensive balanced development, ensuring no weak points undermine overall system. The personalized adaptation recognizes optimal approach varies individually, requiring customization based on specific sabotage patterns and needs. Different people emphasize different frameworks, but complete development includes all areas. Adapt emphasis while maintaining baseline practice across all frameworks. The habit formation transforms conscious practice into automatic patterns, making self-support a natural way of being, not effort for performance. Build habits through consistent daily practice across frameworks, starting with most accessible elements, progressively adding complexity, and maintaining practice even when difficult. The progress tracking monitors development across frameworks, identifying improvements and gaps.
Track pattern frequency, belief strength, motivation levels, emotional regulation capacity, and overall achievement progress.
Measurement provides feedback showing practice works while identifying areas needing attention. The lifelong commitment recognizes self-support development continues throughout life as ongoing refinement, preventing backslide into old patterns. Commit to perpetual practice, maintaining all frameworks indefinitely. The implementation requires designing comprehensive self-support architecture, integrating all 9 frameworks synergistically, recognizing and leveraging multiplying synergies between elements, developing progressively through phased year-long approach, maintaining balanced attention across all dimensions, adapting personalization based on individual patterns, building automatic habits through sustained practice, tracking progress across frameworks, committing to lifelong development, and treating integration as creating complete transformation from self-sabotage to self-support, where partial practice remained vulnerable to relapse, making comprehensive integration essential. 10th framework for finally achieving goals through eliminating unconscious resistance.
You have learned 10 frameworks for stopping self-sabotage and achieving what you want.
Framework 1. Recognizing self-sabotaging patterns and triggers. Framework 2. Understanding root causes.
Framework 3. Dismantling limiting beliefs.
Framework 4. Healing fear of success and worth issues. Framework 5. Developing self-compassion. Framework 6. Building sustainable motivation. Framework 7. Creating accountability systems. Framework 8. Reframing failure. Framework 9. Developing emotional regulation. Framework 10. Integrating into self-support system. What matters now is applying one framework today. 5 immediate priorities. Identify one self-sabotaging pattern you engage in regularly, bringing awareness. Explore one root fear or belief driving that sabotage, understanding causes. Challenge one limiting belief with contrary evidence, transforming thoughts. Practice one instance of self-compassion instead of harsh self-criticism, changing tone. Create one accountability structure or support relationship building systems. Start immediately. Practice consistently. Stop sabotaging yourself.
Stop sabotaging yourself and finally achieve what you want through systematic elimination of unconscious self-defeating patterns, replacing them with comprehensive self-support.
Stop being your own worst enemy and start being your own best supporter, enabling the success your capabilities deserve. Practice frameworks deliberately, integrate comprehensively, and achieve your goals through unwavering commitment, starting right now today.